Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. On this edition, we are here to review Microsoft exclusive Crackdown 3, and we've got someone who's probably a bit of a surprise waiting in the wings. Not a man that you're normally used to hearing reviews from, but it's our main man, Logan, lurking in the shadows.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. I feel like it's a surprise. I'm doing a game like this. I don't know why. I'm surprised at myself.
Well, I think if my memory serves me correctly, you've done a Division 2, not Division 2, obviously it's not out yet, a Division review back in the day, so the OG Division, and the Telltale Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Which, again from memory, Division earned itself a silver or an 8 out of 10. Game of Thrones got binned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't... I mean, we did a whole series on that, didn't we? Do you remember?
I don't know why that happened.
We'd play each episode and then go through our choices.
Ruined it, really.
It did, because the whole thing about a Telltale game usually is it's a bit of a smoke screen. Like, you play through it thinking, oh, what could it have been? And we sat there and played through it and went, right, what was it when you didn't choose Sir Roland? He was like, well, it's the same. Just that Sir Malcolm's been killed. And he was like, well... It's a little bit light on its feet when you do that. But Crackdown 3, so it's not had a great reception, has it, out the gate?
No.
With the reviews, and I don't know how much attention you pay to reviews, or whether you even use it as a barometer, but I'm assuming the main reason that you've even played this is because you've delved into some form of cheap trial for Xbox Game Pass. And
there's a few reasons, really.
Yeah.
I guess to answer the first point, I had seen the reviews. Look, I picked this in my gaming draft, and I thought there could be something about this that just goes like everyone immensely well received. I always expected it to be that's all right. Like that's what I always kind of thought it would be anyway, but I thought it could surprise.
Yeah.
The reviews come out and they were a little bit less than what I'd expected, and there was the usual complaints and whatnot, and I thought okay. And then I've been watching old Ray Narvaez Jr. He was doing a lot of Resi playthroughs, so I was on his channel quite a bit, and he got a pass or a code from Microsoft,
right,
to a week before release to play it. Ooh. Just the campaign, and I thought,
and he could stream it at that point, like before. And he was allowed to do what he wanted, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think they might have gave him a couple of codes to give away and stuff like that. So they're doing a little bit of a promo with him, and I thought, okay, that's fine. And I just thought, okay, I'll tune in for the first. I'll watch like the YouTube video, and I watched that for about half hour, 40 minutes, just to see if it was what I remembered or expected. So what I remembered from the first one, and see if it was still kind of as I would want to play it from now. And it kind of caught me a little bit. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then while he was on the stream, he said, in America, I think it's like $1 or something in America for a month.
That's it, yeah.
So I thought, do you know what? Let me have a look. And then if it is £2 for Xbox Game Pass or a couple of quid or whatever for the month, it's worth a go at that kind of price. I can't really lose. And I went on. Yeah, it was £2. So I went, hello. It all kind of just fell into that, really.
But again, memory is a strange thing. But I believe this serves me correctly. You was a big fan, and we're getting into cards of the table territory. You was a big fan of the original Crackdown on the Xbox 360. I believe one of the launch titles. Crackdown, and I've always remembered you having that in high praise. So
loved it.
Yeah, so there was already a well-established relationship there.
Yeah, I got it with the 360 when I bought it. I didn't really know too much about it at the time, and I sort of just bucked in and gave it a go and that. And I remember loving it. And I really enjoyed the way you could upgrade, all the cars upgraded and stuff like that, and everything about it. It was just a good fun video game, and I really loved it. Yeah. I never ended up with Crackdown 2 for whatever reason. I think that was in a bit of my Call of Duty FIFA rut, where I was like, no, I'm not interested in anything else than that at the minute.
Yeah.
And I know that old Michael Jones did a video on Crackdown 2 that got an absolute reception. That got absolutely... So many people hated that game.
Yeah.
So I think after that, I never went back to it. But I've always been lurking around Crackdown 3. It was always one that I thought, you know, they made big noise around what they were going to do with it, and I was kind of just okay if they released something similar to the original. I think so that's what I was hoping for from it.
Yeah, and it's been a game that's on the Microsoft platforms. It's been lurking for years.
I'm glad they've done with it. Honestly, I actually, when I played it and completed it, I actually thought to myself, I'm glad that they got this out. And now we could just wash our hands of it. Like, cause you've just been hearing about something for so long, and you just want it to be done with, whether it's good or bad or okay. Yeah. You want that game to be out so you can kind of get off the radar. I actually thought that. I was like, I'm glad that's done with now, because it's been lingering around for bloody years.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of their... at one point, it was seen as one of their primary titles that was going to harness this cloud technology. Yeah. And we'll get into whether that ever happens later on. But I remember seeing demos and showcases where the single-player campaign was Crackdown, and was like, okay, that's what it is. But when you go online, when you connect to the internet, they had this big, powerful cloud where there was almost full city destruction and all this stuff. And everyone was like, bloody hell. Imagine what games could be like if they can harness the cloud. And that's what I remember from... And this is not even a lie. 2015, that was out there lurking, that sort of material. And I thought, cool. I went, yeah, that's coming in about a year. And we're sitting here in 2019, nearly through the first quarter, and it's only just come out. And that tells a story of perhaps a troubled development. But we will get to whether that's true or not, or whether this game can stand on its own 2 feet. Many people are asking, after they've just sat through 2 hours of an Anthem review, whether this is the similar sort of length. They're scared, or they're intrigued, because some people like 2 hours. But are you here to commit to 2 hours?
I'm here to commit to as much time as we need to get to the bottom of it.
It could be 3 hours then, ladies and gentlemen.
It could be 3. It could be done in 10 minutes.
We'll see. Well, I'll tell you what, the first one, a rundown of the story. Crackdown's not renowned for its story. But putting that part aside, is it still the open world action semi-RPG, i.e. you level up your character as you go, jobby? And I have no idea where the story's set. I can't even begin to think how this starts off. But is there anything there for people who are there for a narrative-driven game? Or is it not up to scratch?
If you want interesting story and narrative, then this is the place to come. Broadly speaking, story-wise, you're Terry Crews, which is a really odd thing anyway.
Are you Terry Crews, or are you Terry Crews playing a character called someone else? Or is it, no, Terry Crews is now an agent in Crackdown?
Yeah, so Terry Crews is playing the character of the agent you are, but he's in a very Terry Crews way. You might as well be playing as Terry Crews, honestly.
But you can choose other characters, can't you? You don't have to choose Terry Crews, but that must feel a bit of a trail if you do that, like not choosing Crews when they've put all that money into him.
You can't not. Yeah, I mean, I'll get into it, but essentially, you start off. You're in a ship, and it's just such nonsense. There's this stuff called Chimera, which they're using to power weapons, basically, and they set a weapon off on you, and it kills everyone on your ship.
Oh!
And then they somehow manage to resurrect Terry Crews. It basically boils down to the fact that this island called New Providence, which is like an island of hope for men, has been taken over.
That's the map here, New Providence.
Yeah, New Providence. Right, okay. And that's been taken over by this evil lady. I promise you, I completed this yesterday, right? Yeah. And how little I care about the names is shown here, because it's just so irrelevant, right? If you said to me, I can't even remember what Terry Crews' agent name is. and I've played 10 to 15 hours with him.
Yeah.
Because I just cannot. The names are so the story and the names are so irrelevant in this game. It might as well just not exist. But anyway, and the idea is you can. It's kind of like it's kind of like the Nemesis system, but in a very basic form of you have to kill certain bosses to get to the top boss.
Right. How many fucking bosses are there, roughly? We're talking 5 or 6, or are we talking dozen?
I'm trying to think now. So there's but this is where now it gets cloudy. So you kind of kill sub-bosses, which I think there's probably about 4 or 5, that take you onto main bosses, which I think there's about 4.
Oh.
And then there's kind of the main boss at the end. So it kind of tears up a little bit, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm fine with it. But essentially, you kind of you're on the outer rim of a map, and the idea is you kind of work your way spirally, I guess. So that's the way that I did it in my head, to the centre of it, where there's like the main tower and the main bit where the main boss is.
Right.
So start on the bottom left, you work your way around, all the way around, sort of clockwise, until you can get into the centre. And in the map, there's loads of different sub areas. In every sub area, there's generally like 4 like areas. There's like little bases and bits that you have to clear down to tick off to then go on to the next bit.
Right.
So I remember there's like loads of monorail stations you have to kill, which are mainly robots. There's chemical stations, which are mainly, you've got different humans in suits that are spewing shit at you, and then you've kind of got like the standard army style bases that you have to go and deal with. So basically, there's 3 colours: there's purple, green, and red. You clear that down, and then you move on to the next one. It's kind of like that, really. And you just go around the map doing that until you clear them all down and clear the bosses.
That's that jobby. I guess in terms of a narrative, it sounds like it's a little bit bare bones.
Oh.
Is it something that you just haven't got to worry about? It sets you up and goes, right, you've been killed and then resurrected.
Yeah.
I tell you what, just get on with it and don't worry about what's going on. There's not like a Last of Us type heavy duty story going on, is there, that we're going to miss out on?
No. I mean, they give there's loads of other little bits like as intel and stuff like that. If you try and get into it, but it's just, in my opinion, you don't play Crackdown for the story. I never, there was the first one. It was the gangs, and it was very much like kill all the gangs to free the city. It's much the same in this. You're killing all these evil bosses to free the city. It's like, it's the same premise. It kind of tries to link into the first and second one, but I don't think it tries to do it. It doesn't do it very well. There's a few little sort of homages, if you want, to it, but you don't need. There's no backstory. It doesn't go. You need to have played 1 and 2. You can literally pick up any one independently at any point, I think, and still play it. So that's kind of where it is. Honestly, it's such light touch on the story. It's just there
as a vehicle.
As a vehicle for you to be able to play the game.
Gotcha. And in terms of the, I guess the genre, it's still third person, combat based, traversal, that sort of. There's no like, I don't know, like on a rail shooter or first person stuff. It's a third person action game basically, where you control the camera and jump around and cause havoc. Yeah,
I mean, it's literally you're there just to kill others. I mean, it's weird, really, because you just literally go around killing everyone, and that is the goal all the time. The enemies, and then every now and again they chuck in move this battery or power cell and put it in over there.
Right.
And it's so basic that you just go and it doesn't tell you to do it really at any point. You're just kind of expected to know, and you're like, well, you've made me play this for 3 hours and not introduce this mechanic, and then all of a sudden there's like childish puzzle solving that's there for no, like I was just like, where's that come from? It's a bit odd, really, because you get, once you know it, it's kind of there, but you just go like, it's not complicated. There's no trick in it. It's just like a tick in the box thing. And it's kind of like, I don't know why you felt the need to do that, other than the fact that it's trying to go, well, you need to get into that area. Like it's just putting you in a bit of danger. Yeah, so other than that, you're literally just going around, jumping around, traversing things and killing people in whatever manner you kind of want to.
Interesting. So when we talk about things like, I mean, this is an Xbox exclusive. You're playing it on the and correct me if I'm wrong, the stock Xbox One, so the one that came with that Kinect, OG Xbox One, no Xbox One X. This is not available on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro. I believe via the Microsoft Xbox trash that they have going, you can play it on the PC if you need to. But how's this game perform and what are its graphics like? Because, I mean, historically it's been a cel-shaded open world game, but is it up to scratch in the presentation and performance when we stand here in 2019?
No. It's so the way that, I went into it with such an open mind, but when you're playing it, it doesn't feel, and it's really hard to pinpoint one thing, but it feels dated.
Feels up. What looks better, this or Trials?
Well, I mean, it's
the fact that you've got to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say because when you're playing it, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just feels like it's.
You've played that old. Red Dead.
Oh, it's nothing like that. Like honestly, if you compare the two, like it's absolute chalk and cheese. Like you couldn't do it. You could not. If you played this in a comparison to Red Dead, it would just be blown out of the water in every way. Like, just to give you an example, the cutscenes in it are mainly kind of like cartoon sketch style. So it's it's like that.
The graphic novel style.
Yeah, type, it's a bit like that. And then every now and again you get a couple of seconds, or you might be 5-10 seconds or whatever of graphically drawn cutscene, and it just looks like 5 years old. Like it just doesn't. Like the lip syncing was slightly out, and all this sort of stuff. And when you've been playing something like Red Dead, which is so perfectly done, and then you come to a cutscene that is just ultimately, as I would call it, budget and bare bones. I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of okay with it at the same time, because I think the story is so throwaway, you might as well not put it in the first place. But like every time you kill a boss, it will do a bit of a cutscene or something. The big boss lady will come along and start saying stuff, and I just thought, I don't know why you've bothered. Honestly, it was just like, if you ain't got the money or the time to be doing that, and you just wanted to fill it with something, just don't bother. It was just so poor. And yeah, I mean, the graphics are just, the detail is just not at this point in time in the gaming world up to scratch. It's just it does feel dated.
I would say you said dated at the start of this, and it feels like that's a common theme, and perhaps that'll be the same in its design or whatever, but the way it looks, just like you're saying, doesn't sound like it's up to scratch. When really, excuses round has gone to this generation, isn't it? You've got Red Dead Redemption 2 lurking and being one of the best looking console games you've ever seen, and Red Dead Redemption 2 is an open world epic. It's not a confined linear game like you see Uncharted and you think that looks really good, but it's the scope of that's a lot smaller. Yeah, and something that's been developed that long, that sounds a bit disappointing. Is it performance wise? Is it okay? Like in terms of frame rate or crashes? Did you have any problems with just playing the game? It played okay, but just looked a bit there.
Yeah, basically, I had no problems with it. It run fine. I mean, it might. I don't know whether it's Xbox One X enhanced and all that. I expect it must be, because it's a.
Well, what are they enhancing? It sounds like it's all bland anyway.
I know, but the only thing I can say is maybe if you blew it up onto a 4K TV, it would look slightly better. But
it might look worse as well.
It might look worse. I mean, the thing is, I kind of just went, "That's not. It doesn't. It doesn't." But again, and I'll probably get onto this after, is that you sort of forgive it a little bit for it.
Right.
It kind of doesn't become. Like if you're playing Red Dead, and you'd probably be a bit like, oh, but for some reason in this, it kind of just is allowed to get away with it a bit. I think it's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, Red Dead's for a lot of it, it's a very serious and impactful game, whereas Crackdown just isn't that.
I mean, look, the way that I'd explain it is there's probably more detail in Grand Theft Auto 5. You'd probably play that on the Xbox or whatever, and after it, you'd probably go, this looks better. That's the reality. Like genuinely, that is the reality.
Or maybe this was a game that was supposed to be on last gen and didn't make it out the doors, and then just took too long to come to this one. I mean, that could be. We'll probably never know, but should there ever be a story that leaks and says, "Oh, Crackdown 3 was originally meant to be an Xbox 360 game," it sounds like you're not going to be surprised if you heard that and be like, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
It's really hard because I can't remember. Like, I think it would have been where I'd place this is probably. I reckon it should have been an Xbox One console launch game.
Yeah,
that's what it feels to me. So I'm playing that.
Like that Rise.
Yeah, but Rise looks better. This is the problem. It's like, Rise does look better. If you haven't played Rise after this, you go graphically, it's better.
Yep.
But if it had come out originally before you'd had the Red Dead, the Uncharted 4s and stuff like that, you'd have gone. You'd have gone. Yeah, it looks fine.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I think the problem is you're judging it now by later games. Like Halo 5, anything like that, you just go because it's moved on so far. Yeah, it's kind of like makes it a bit redundant, really.
Well, if you're going to be released now, that's what you got to be up against. And
I'm surprised they let this go like that now, really, because it's really harsh. It doesn't look awful, but you just go, you want to pick up a game now and
be blown away. Your socks blown off in a way.
Yeah, like by saying from in it, and it won't do that. Absolutely not.
Interesting. So you've spoken a little bit about the design and the progression, but what is the game structure? I'm assuming it's open world. It's not a linear game. But how do you progress in the game? Is it the same as what I remember from the old Crackdowns, in that you've got like a few categories in terms of combat and agility and things like that, and you collect orbs? Like, how do you level up? And I'm assuming most people are going to choose. Let's call it Terry Crews, the character. Yeah. How do you level up Terry? How does the game work? And then how do you actually progress through the map? Because you mentioned you start at a little point and you sort of spiraled your way in. How's all that? How does it work as a game in terms of what you're going to be doing for the next 15, 20 hours or however long you play it?
Yeah. So basically, you start off, you get dumped in this first bit in the bottom left of the map, and you've got 5 categories. You've got basically health. Trying to think this through now. So you got health, explosives, like gun damage, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And you've got your car, so your driving level. So you're working to get those up. So in the same way as before, you can earn experience by killing people, driving, doing all that kind of stuff, collecting orbs, hidden orbs.
So you're doing specific tasks. So for example, if you're driving, you get experience by driving. The agility, you get the agility points by collecting agility orbs. Yeah. The shooting, you get experience by shooting. Is it that sort of level? It doesn't just combine in and you choose what to level up.
Yeah. So it kind of, and it depends. So if you're using like explosive weapons and grenades, you boost up your explosive score.
Right. Yeah.
And every time you level up, you kind of get a new ability, or you'll unlock a specialist weapon or something like that. As you go through the cars, I quite like this about it. So when you kind of, the first car you get is kind of like a fast car, for want of a better term. You can then upgrade that once you've done some races and some stunt rings and things. You can upgrade that. You can get a second one, which is kind of a bit more off-roady, and you can jump in it, and you can also travel up buildings. So
in the car,
so on the car, it basically will lock onto the side of the building. You can travel up buildings.
Drive up it.
Yeah, you can drive up it. It's a little bit like unintuitive at times to do it. I didn't do it a lot because you don't really need to. But yeah, you can do that. And then there's a third one once you level it up again, which unlocks basically a tank.
Right.
So that kind of is that. And then, as you go up explosive skills, you obviously do more damage. You unlock some different funky grenades, and that's quite cool. Shooting, I can't remember exactly what benefits you get. I think you might just do more damage. It all tells you on the thing. I didn't bother looking at it. Well, and obviously you get more life. And then the melee one, you can get more like ground pounds and punches and stuff like that. Like it's just fun stuff, really. But it levels you up. So the idea is that you progress through each sort of, the map's separated into like little sub mini maps and quadrants.
Yeah.
And the idea, well, I guess the idea is to sort of move through the quadrants. As you go through, the idea is that you reduce the industrial power that this. I really need to figure out her name. Whoever the boss lady is, I can't remember. It's Niemand, I think.
Some evil cunts running the city.
Yeah, so you basically need to stop like all the production and stuff like that, and by doing that, you destroy all the chemical plants. And as the idea is to go through each area, slowly destroying all and killing down and releasing militia. So you've got prisons. The idea is that you release them from the militia from the prisons, and it increases the resistance against them and all this sort of stuff. But basically, what you're doing is in each area, it's a clear down.
Yeah.
So you clear down the area, and then move on to the next one.
Is that by just destroying like bases and things like that, or
basically.
like little outposts? Yeah.
There's like little outposts and bases, and the idea is, and you have to do some slightly different stuff sometimes. So, for example, there's prisons which you have to release the prisoners. The idea is you basically kill everyone and then open the door.
You let all the prisoners slaughter them.
Well, no, they're the militia. So the idea is you go to the prisons that are run by Niemand.
Right. Okay. I thought you meant they were just like the scourge of society, and you're killing all the prison guards and letting all the cunts out to run riot in the city.
No. And then there's the monorail stations which you have to capture, and that's all like run by a robot. So the idea is that you're killing robots there. You then capture the monorail station, and then you'll go to the chemical plant, and you have to basically destroy the chemical plant processors. But it's all basically killing people. It's really what it boils down to.
Can you just? Is there like a grind to that? Do you have to finish off every district or area, or could you skip a couple and go, right, I'm actually going to go, I don't know how it works, 2 level above me or anything like that? Or is it that could you go to the final boss, or have you got to unlock him, or I don't know how?
No, you could go for it. You get drilled, but so
it's there as an option if you're good enough. You could do it, but
your character wouldn't be leveled up enough. Basically, is the point. So by each boss or by each area, it'll give you a percentage of chance of survival.
Right.
That gives you an indication of how difficult, or based on your current level progress or your character progress, your chance of percentage of survival. Like basically, just to give you an idea, when I watched Ray play his first playthrough, the first thing he went and did, there was like a guide to where the 3 most powerful weapons are. So you can, as you go into each different area, there's like a weapon crate that will have a new weapon for you. So you can basically drive over, or you can jump around over to those, get them, like ignore the enemies.
Yeah, just spin through.
Yeah. So you can do that, which makes it easier. So he was doing it on Legendary. So he basically doing around with the pieces of piss weaponry you get at the start. He went and got the good explosive weapons, and then went back and started clearing it all down. But even then on Legendary, they're real bullet sponges. But yeah, the idea is you can freely skip between them if you want to. And in each area, there's generally what is quite good. It tells you how many orbs you haven't got in that specific little area. So it will say like you've still got 5 agility orbs left, 2 hidden orbs still in this area, and it will give you like if there's any collectible pieces, it will tell you how many are available there, so you don't end up faffing around the map.
No,
but the UI, can I just say, is pretty diabolical. Like the map, it's just like the idea is it will lock onto like different things, and you can set waypoints, but it's a little bit finicky doing it, and it's a little bit cluttered, and it's not great. But
how big is that map overall to more order around? Is it, again, without using Red Dead as a barometer, but I'm assuming it's not to that size. Is it something you can run around in like 10 minutes or half an hour? I mean, how big is this map that they're producing? It's on an island, I'm assuming. So it's
So I reckon if I wanted to go all the way around the island, on the outer edge, just jumping, I reckon it might take me 15-20 minutes.
Okay, so it's reasonably.
It's not tiny. Like the thing is with it is each little. I never looked at it as one big. And the fact of the matter is, you can capture supply points in each area. Like you can capture normally about 2 or 3 supply points in each area. Once you've captured them, you can just fast travel between them.
Right.
So you'd literally just like, you could go around the whole map really almost and get 80% of the supply points just in one, like as you sat down, you could go and just get them really.
Yeah.
And then you could just teleport, for want of a better term, around the map as you needed to. But that kind of takes the fun out of it. I didn't do that too often until the end. I tended to just jump around because it's quite fun.
Yeah. Again, and vehicle-wise, is there even need to drive when you can jump around like a fucking
No, absolutely not. No, the thing is with the jumping and that is fun. And while you're doing it, you're getting all the agility orbs. So it's like there's the incentive to jump on the rooftops because you want to jump around and get all the orbs. You don't want to be down on the ground driving around with all the turp. Like, and it's not quicker to drive. It's quicker to jump around anyway. So it's kind of like pointless. There's no real point to the driving that I found. I barely used it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. I've heard that quite a bit. That the fact that the driving's okay, but there's no efficient way to use it because you can run and sprint and jump over 4 buildings before you've driven a car down the road.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's quite cool. You can call it to you, it comes to you, and all that sort of stuff. So it's not inconvenient to use, but it's just with the fast travel. Like if they didn't have the fast travel, I'd used it more.
Right.
Because you can just basically fast travel to any point in the map and then jump to where you need to go.
Yeah.
Renders it pointless. The driving's actually okay. Like it's fine. Like it's not bad. So there's some races that I did. I got a bit bored of them though because I'm sort of like I haven't got this to do racing. It's not a racing game. Like, I don't want to be doing that.
No.
So I kind of got bored of that. But something that is quite cool, they've got all these little stunt rings that you have to drive a car through. And obviously with the creation of this car that you can now get up onto buildings, they've got like some of the stunt rings up on top of buildings and like walkways and stuff. So you can get up the car up there to get them through the stunt ring. But again, I was just sort of like, I don't really want to be sitting here grinding that.
No.
So it got ignored. But
well, it's got to be done. Yeah. Mechanics and control.
Yes.
I thought he was going to carry on what you're saying, so that's why I left it a bit. Binned it, gave up on it. Yeah. I mean, it's a primarily a traversal and I guess shooting game.
Yeah.
How does this game feel like to play? Is it? You've said it sounds like its age and its design and its presentation in some points, but is it doing anything to push any genres forward in terms of when you pick up that controller and start blowing shit up?
No.
Oh.
No, I mean, it's basically like lock on, so there's no free aim, really. You just constantly like...
Left trigger and it goes right.
Left trigger shoot, left trigger shoot. You're just changing enemies like that.
Can't you like pick up cars and throw it, or is there just no point doing all that shit?
You can.
Yeah.
Can, but again, it's no point. You just with the loadouts you got, you don't need it, or I didn't anyway. It's like I've put it this way: it gives you enough ammo and choice of weapons to just use that. Like there's no need to ever pick up world objects and throw them. I found it doesn't add anything. In all honesty, if you play this on easy, or like I did, it's just like it's not like the enemies don't go down necessarily really easily. But I just found a way, basically. I had a loadout, which was a shotgun as my primary.
Yeah.
You pick up this ludicrous gun, which is basically it's got a mag of 40 and it fires 40 mini missiles. Crikey. You're basically just able to just pepper them all with mini missiles. And then like you get to a special one, a special weapon, which I just use as a homing rocket because it just does one big fuckload of damage to the big fucks. And you can use that with like all your ground pounds and your fist punching and all that, and it's just you literally are almost invincible. Like and when you kill people, you get health and shield back. So there's very little chance of you. I mean, some of the areas get a bit hectic, and you had to play it a bit tactically towards the end. But really, you can sort of just go in and do what you want. I didn't ever find myself running out of ammo or like having to think about it. Like you sometimes have to think about what gun you're using against certain enemies, but really you can just fire away anyone with a shotgun.
Get get rid of them. I
But
mean,
you're just jumping around and locking and shooting people, really.
what about this jumping around then? Because the
Yeah.
way I've always viewed Crackdown is you're kind of a semi-superhero if you get powered up enough, and you're jumping around the city, you're picking up stuff you shouldn't be able to, you're chucking it, you're shooting. It does that as a vehicle to traverse around the city. Does that feel good, or again, does it feel a little bit empty or light? I don't know.
No, it's fine. It's quite fun. Like it is good fun. Like you can dash in midair. You can do by the end of it, you can do 2 dashes and 3 jumps once you're in the air. So you can kind of jump anywhere. It generally gets a good hand on it. Like it generally, he does that. I've complaints on that. I think what they have built out is better ways to traverse buildings. So it's kind of like on the original one, I remember it should constantly get an hand of a ledge. But they've actually made more stable ledges to jump on and jumping around. So rather than jumping and getting a hand on it, you're actually jumping from ledge to ledge. Yeah, which I think was better. It's the jumping's fun. Like there's a couple of jumping puzzles where you have to get to the top of these propaganda towers. Yeah, basically switch them off. And switch them over to the militia one, and they're kind of like little platforming jumping puzzles, which were quite fun to do. They're not, as I say, massively taxing, but sometimes they're a bit stressful when they get a little bit more difficult and you fall off them and stuff. But again, it's pretty kind. It sets checkpoints on them. Like this is what I mean. The game's not. It's very much a game that's designed to have fun in and enjoy it. It's not a game that I can see is designed to test or challenge you, if that makes sense.
No,
like everywhere that it could be, like when you fall off these propaganda towers, you think, oh, it could be a right fuck and start you again. Literally, it gives you a checkpoint halfway up. So the worst it can ever get really is you starting from halfway again. Yeah. So it's generally pretty forgiving, but the mechanics of the jumping are all pretty good and sound. They've put a little bit of fall damage in, but generally, at least on the difficulty I was doing it, you're never going to die from it.
No.
So yeah, it's nothing revolutionary. I'm trying to think how much different it was than Crackdown 3, and I think they've added the dash system in, so you can do a dash. But other than that, it's kind of jumping around. You got your triple jump and stuff like that. It's kind of much of the same. Yeah, it's fun. That's about all I can say, really. It's not. It's really harsh because I make it sound so basic, and it is, but it doesn't mean that it's. I don't feel like they needed to add anything else with the jump in. It kind of does what it does.
No.
One thing that it did remind me of, I guess, gameplay-wise, is when you were doing the Spider-Man DLC.
Okay, yeah.
And I know that's an interesting thing to liken it to, but you just felt like there were endless enemies, and you're just sort of thinking of, sort of getting through killing them at times. Yeah. That's how it can feel.
Right. But can you swing around like a fucker?
No, you can jump around like a fucker. But there's no. It's not advanced as Spider-Man. That's a really unfair comparison to Spider-Man. But it was a little bit in feeling like what I'd got from you when you were doing that. It's kind of
I mean, you say it's an unfair comparison, but again, that's what it's up against.
Honestly, again, there's literally no comparison in terms of graphics or performance.
It's coming out in 2019 when those games have come out and put all the groundwork in and made open worlds as interesting as they can. And this is, they've churned out something here, Microsoft, that perhaps doesn't live up to that. Is there any other business that you've kind of wanted to talk about before we move into the final verdict or the closing thoughts? Anything that doesn't fit into the categories that we've just spoken to, or are you happy to bring the chopping block down on it?
I don't know if there's any real other business. I'm just trying to think if there's things that I've missed, really.
Well, I'll tell you what we haven't spoken about is the multiplayer. Yeah, and we mentioned about... That just popped in my head. That's lucky because that wine made me forget. But the multiplayer was sold as I said at the top, it was a cloud-based destruction engine. It was going to make the game... Basically, they made it look like the game in single player was okay, but when you played it online...
Yep.
It was so much better because of the destruction. That the cloud technology would be a saviour. Was that all bollocks?
From my limited exposure to it, yes. So but weirdly, again, this is where it gets weird. You get the single player as a download,
Yes,
and then you get the multiplayer as a separate download. And
so it appears a separate tile on the Xbox.
Yeah, it's called Wrecking Zone. So you got
makes you wonder whether that's going to be released on its own as free to play later.
Absolutely. By the way, I fully expect this to be. Well, it's already on Game Pass, and it would surprise me in 3 to 6 months' time if this is a Games with Gold game. It genuinely, I just don't see it, sticking around a huge amount of time. But basically, you download this separate game called Wrecking Zone, and there's, from what I can see, 2 modes. They're both 5v5, and the first one is Agent Hunter, which, from the title, I'm guessing, I didn't play that one, is a team deathmatch mode. Yeah. And you've got a second one, which is basically a capture point mode. And again, it's so basic. It literally, you can kind of pick a character.
Terry Crews?
Yeah, obviously. Why would you be anyone else? Something I forgot to mention, by the way, is that you can go through the world and collect DNA for the other characters. So it's kind of
unlock a new hero or new agent. Sorry,
it will unlock that once you've found them in the world. So they'll be like on top of a building. Unlock them, and then you can play as them. And they've got different buffs. So Terry Crews has got his buff. Then you've got one that's a driving expert, one's an explosive expert, one's a weapons expert. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
But again, it's kind of like, why would I not play as Terry Crews? Like, in any, the buffs are so minimal. It's like 10% or something. It's just, honestly, I couldn't see that it'd make a whole raft of difference personally. But anyway, that's interesting. But back to the Wrecking Zone bit. Yeah, I jumped in. I did a point capture one, and it was kind of like, the only way I could explain it to you was it's like Tron. Like it all felt very, had like an electronic-y feel in this map. It wasn't very big. You went in, you picked a loadout, which is basically you can choose a shotgun, a pistol, or something. You can have an explosive gun, and that's about it.
Right. And
you just jump around collecting points. The building does blow up, but it's so it's so
cloud-based destruction.
So honestly, it's not. It's just like
the way it was sold to me was you could blow the whole city up.
Well, if you want you could. So put it this way: you could go around in this place just blowing shit up if you want, but you wouldn't achieve a goal. Like there would be no point. You just go, yeah, that's blown an arbitrary hole there.
Right.
Like it's just kind of like what. It's pointless almost. It might as well not be there in that mode. Played, and I was just sort of so underwhelmed by it. I was just sort of like, this is the most basic multiplayer I've ever played. Like, there's not even an option to add, like, which is, I don't like it, but there's not even an option to customize characters or customize guns, loadouts. It's just kind of pick a gun, jump around, try and kill some people. It was thoroughly I was so not fussed by it, basically, in every way. I was just sort of like, that is not very good.
That's disappointing, because that was one of the big things around it, was that once you jump online, the destruction element, you could, I don't know, I assume there's going to be like a big open city mode where, I don't know, it's 8v8 and you just cause carnage over the city and the buildings all get blown to shit, but it sounds like it's very controlled, and then even that is just a little bit restricted.
Yeah, and I don't know how to explain it, but it looked visually worse than the game, like the actual core game. It just everything about it as multiplayer just felt dated.
Yeah,
it felt so basic and bare bones. I was just like, in this day and age, why would I play this? Like, when there's so much other stuff going on that's multiplayer now. Yeah. Why would I play this? I just didn't. I could never. I was hoping I was going to boot it up and I'd play a game and go, cool, everyone else needs to get this. This is be great fun with 5 of us. But I just
the new Apex.
Well, yeah, but I mean, since it's been launched, you haven't heard anyone say anything about the Wrecking Zone piece, or I haven't really. No one's raving about it or playing it.
That's the first time I've heard it called Wrecking Zone, which is bad, because you'd think most people would be like, and there's a separate mode called Wrecking Zone in the reviews, but they just don't seem to mention it. It's like just completely washed over.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because there's something there. There could be something as a multiplayer for this game because it is. I feel like I've slagged it off a bit. It is in a lot of ways outdated, but it is also fun. I did find myself wanting to play it and complete it and clear that toot down and whatnot. So there's something there, but it just, I don't know why they've done this multiplayer. It makes me think, what are you thinking? You might.
They backed themselves into a corner in 2015 by showing it all off, saying this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah,
like they couldn't launch without it, and the rumor is that the cloud stuff actually was what caused a lot of the delays, and it sounds like it hasn't delivered anyway. So I mean, that's a real stinker all round. Alan's pulled the plug out on that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's gone, right. So. We're not financing another $200,000 a year on that garbage. I mean, fucking get that out now.
We'll go into that bit, but in the review. But I think it certainly does feel like they got it to a point and just went, let's get that. Now we got to get this out one way or another. So sort of just patch it up a bit and chuck it out.
Alan is ruthless. He will not be screwed over by the developers' whims. He said, look, you said a 3-year timeline, you're now quoting 5, you get him 4 and that's it, and he's pulled the plug. We've seen it. Alan knows what he's doing. He's the best game development business mind in the business, so don't query him. Anyway, closing thoughts, final verdict.
Yeah,
what are we dealing with in terms of a summary for Crackdown 3, Phil Spencer's golden egg?
So,
Phil will wash his hands of this, I reckon.
So, basically, it starts off, and when you start playing it, especially if you liked Crackdown, the original, you will like this game. It is very, it is very similar in a lot of ways to the original Crackdown that I remember. So, the jumping's good, the orbs are there, which are weirdly addictive, getting them orbs. It's a strange thing.
That's the best bit about the demo I played, I remember.
So early on and building your character up and all that stuff is fun. The problem with it is that after you've played 8 hours or whatever of doing that, it doesn't get any more than that. There are a few bits that you can distract yourself with in doing some races, some of the agility races across the rooftops. There's a few collectible bits you can go and get. But ultimately, you get to the next area, you shoot a load of stuff, and it feels a little bit, after a little while, it just kind of gets a bit dull. Like you're not doing anything different. The guns at times, I always feel like they could go to the next level of fun with it. I feel like for some reason they've got a license to do some fun stuff, yet you can find to a shotgun, a pistol, a machine gun, and I'm sort of, and some explosive weapons. But I'm kind of like thinking, you could have had some real fun here of giving me some guns that I would be more interested in getting. I felt like that was a bit bland after a while. But yeah, I did find myself wanting to go back to complete it, and the jumping around's fun. It's weirdly addictive, just firing a shitload of missiles at stuff and blowing stuff to hell. Like you can shoot fuel cylinders and stuff that blow things up. Like it's weirdly addictively fun, but I wouldn't want to do it any longer than I did. But when I completed it, I was like, I'm glad I don't have to.
Good grief!
Like continue doing that because it was getting a bit monotonous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd definitely say that it's worth the £2 that I spent to play it.
So you bought it on Game Pass, which had a 2-month trial for £2.
Yeah.
If you're in the shoes of someone who hasn't got that in their region and it's 45 quid, does that change a recommendation on it simply because there's a lot more money being dealt out?
So I literally see no reason why anyone would buy this game at full price, and solely because if you're going to do that, you might as well just pay £8.
Yeah,
to get
do the Game Pass.
There's literally no good reason in my head I can think of why anyone would buy it as a brand new game, unless you're like Hall and you just like having the the plastic that becomes an inconvenience. I genuinely don't. So what I would say is it's definitely worth, in my opinion, £8 to play through it if you enjoy Crackdown.
Your 1 month trial, £8.
Well, no, for a 1 month, it's £8. It's $7.99 a month anyway.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got that and you still want
UK pounds.
I could say to someone and happily say it's worth £8, but I couldn't sit here and say £45 full price job, you get it. There's nothing beyond. I mean, look, if you like the grind fest of it and you want to jump around, you want to get all the orbs and you want to do all the little other bits,
get Spider-Man.
If you ain't got the PS4 though, you're bugged.
Yeah.
That's the trouble with it. But I suspect that it's just so dated. It really is.
It feels old.
It feels old, and it just hasn't. There's nothing there massively new that I can see that is adding. Like it almost feels like Crackdown remastered.
Yeah, that's a classic trait though of games that have taken so long to be developed, is that they feel old because the inception of them was in a period where X, Y, and Z, applied, and then they go to develop X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z takes 3 years, it takes 5 years and 6 years, and by the time they've come to release X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C has already come out, and it's just you're constantly behind the curve. Like there's such big games these days, and the amount of effort and work that needs to go into develop them means that they can't just spin it and go, we're going to change direction. It's like, well, it's 80% done in this old style, we're going to have to release it whatever happens. And it's the classic case of a game that's taken longer than it probably should have to come out.
Oh, absolutely. As I say, I think it's come out probably nearly 5 years too late. I genuinely do. And the thing is, you look at how long they must have been developing Red Dead 2 for God knows how long.
8.5 years. Yeah,
and you look at the quality that they've pushed out, and you compare this to it, and you just go, it's just night and day. And they're lucky that it is fun to play. Like that's the redeeming feature, is that ultimately it's nice to have games that are just fun. Just a harmless, fun game that you can pick up, clear some stuff down, and put it down again. It's not, it's not harming anyone in that way. But it's just a shame, I think, that there was. When I think back to the original Crackdown, what they could have possibly looked at doing with this, and they've just blown it. I think that's the only way to describe it, because they blew Crackdown 2, and then for some reason Microsoft, who are one of the richest companies in the world, have struggled to get this game out for one reason or another, and they've in the end they've gone, right, we need to get this out in some sort of state and get something from it. And
they've struggled this generation with games, really.
Yeah.
Other than Titanfall coming to them and landing that, and Sunset Overdrive, I quite liked. You've had an average Halo game, an average Gears game, and last year would we have State of Decay, which was absolutely shit on. I can see why they've made the move to purchase 4 or 5 studios in the last year to bolster out their exclusives, because it just hasn't been good enough from Microsoft point of view. Even on their big tentpole ones, they've just not produced. And this is another one that seemingly is undelivered. You think, well, what are you doing when Sony are churning out the likes of fucking Spider-Man, fucking Horizon, fucking Uncharted 4? And
there's no comparison between the two. Like
God of War, how's that getting released when this is coming out a year later?
Yeah, when you compare them to, and it is amazing, really. And I do judge it more harshly because it's a Microsoft exclusive game that's from their studios. Is you go, well, you've got to be producing the goods. It's not just
a hardware seller. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, and you're selling me this. It was just lucky that when I picked it up, I thought this is fun. It was more like a reminiscing of the original than it was me feeling like they took the franchise on any further. It kind of felt like they're just going to end on a Crackdown remaster. Yeah. That's basically where it is. And do you know what? I really hope I don't hear them talking about Crackdown 4, because they should just draw a line under it now. I don't think you can take it anywhere else. It's done. Move on. Do something new.
So, what is the official grading? The Dimp grading for Crackdown 3, Microsoft's newest exclusive, developed by Sumo Digital. What's their final grading?
It is a 5 out of 10. And in a way,
the lowest we've had.
In a way, it's fortunate for that. And in a way, in a way, it's fortunate for it, but in a way, that's harsh as well.
Yeah.
So it's a real difficult one because I love this franchise. I had so much fun on it. I did enjoy the majority of my playthrough. It's by no means a perfect game. Like honestly, it's not. But it did have its moments, and for £2 or whatever, and even if you're chucking that out on Game Pass and going there, it is play it.
Yeah,
it is fine. I mean, it could easily be a 6. It could easily be a 4.
Right.
On that basis, I said, let's meet in the middle. Let's do a 5 out of 10. It's just it for me as someone that loves that franchise. It's just I hate it. One of my biggest pet hates in life is when people just go, "That'll do." I hate a "that'll do" or that just chucking out something that you know is below par because you either can't be fucked to do it or you've had enough or whatever it is. If you're not going to do something and put the time in to make it the best that you can, then don't bother. And it kind of feels like they got to a point with this where they just went, right, we've got to get it out.
Get something out. Don't cancel it. Just chuck it out and we'll see what happens.
And it's a perfectly playable game. But it's just outdated.
Bog standard, outdated, but playable, not broken in a fundamental way. No. So, well, interesting. That's an interesting review. I mean, we don't tend to get the lowest of the low on the old Dimp ones because people research and they look at the reviews and think, I've been that. But it's good to get an insight into something like Crackdown 3, which, like I said, it's mad that it's a Microsoft exclusive and just isn't up to par again. I've got a feeling Phil's standing there going, I've been this generation.
It's a write-off.
He's gone off. Yeah, you go, I've written that off. We'll go again in 2020 with Xbox 2 and we'll get it right then.
The thing is, it isn't when you're playing it isn't not fun, and because it is enjoyable for the most part, you forgive the outdated graphics and the fact that the gunplay is almost non-existent because you're just holding a button down, but it's something also weirdly satisfying about punching someone across the map.
Of course, ground pound. Drill them,
and when you drill them, it's fun, but it's just towards the end of it, you sort of just go, I've done this loads now. I've done this for 8 hours already. How much would you want from me? Yeah.
Well, look, we'll see. I mean, I think there's a chance that Crackdown 4 surfaces in the next 4 years.
It shouldn't. Honestly, it shouldn't.
It should. Well, if in the right hands where they can innovate and make it relevant, the idea of it surely still has a chance.
If you want my opinion, it needs rebuilding from the ground up.
Yeah.
Because if you keep starting from this base they've got, I think you're just never going to get anything better. Yeah,
because the ceiling of that base is too low. It's not.
Yeah. So you'd need to get the idea and go, we're going to get that idea again. Here's some fun stuff we want to do. I think that they've got a choice to make with it if they do that, because they need to, because they half made it like they tried to have some fun originally at the beginning of the Crackdown, because you can tell from the cutscene with Terry Crews and all that.
Oh yeah.
They tried to. I could see where they were going at first with it, and then they kind of just lost their way. It just tailed off, and all the amusing stuff and the silliness that it started off with just evaporated. Yeah. And I'm like, if you're going to get Terry Crews in, you want to do something a bit light-hearted and fun, do it. That's fine, but then don't give me a bog standard shotgun and. It's just there's stuff like that where I think just have some fun. Like they had the license to, they just didn't go that extra step. So yeah, I think they'd either need to do something a bit more semi-serious with it. Like if they upped that gunplay something more respectable like they did in Red Dead 2, for example, because that was nothing revolutionary.
No,
but more than serviceable. If they upgraded that, really upped the graphics, the player movement and everything, and there is something there for it. It was just so. It felt like it was just very budget, is the way that I'd describe it.
Yeah, and you don't expect that from your exclusives.
Exactly.
You think they should be the top quality ones. And if they are going to be in that quality, maybe, I mean, you didn't pay the full price, but they should perhaps be reduced at, maybe not £45, maybe £30. I don't know. There used to be a middle ground of games where you'd get the top AAA ones, which were all 45, 50 UK pounds. Then there's a tier below that at like £30.
Yeah.
And this feels like this would slot nicely into that. Like, you're not expecting the world from it.
Yeah.
There's going to be limitations on it, but you're not paying full price. And unfortunately, there's going to be poor fuckers out there that have pre-ordered this on a digital release at $49.99 UK pounds, and that's what they've been served up. And Phil's just going to, walk away and pretend it hasn't happened. But that's life sometimes. Don't be pre-ordering. And Crackdown 3, it sounds like if you got a few quid to spare on Game Pass, or if you've got Game Pass, download it, but don't expect the world.
If you temper your expectations and as you say, expect something that's going to be fun for a few hours that you can pick up, put down, and it's about on. It's fine. It's completely serviceable. But as you say, it just falls short because it's a Microsoft exclusive we've heard about for 4 or 5 years that has dropped and is below par, really.
Wow, that is our official Crackdown 3 review, courtesy of Mr. Logan. Thank you very much for joining me on this particular edition.
No problems.
I really don't think there's anything more for us to say apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.